Hello, this is Diana. This is my Trailblazers of the Universe YouTube channel. On my channel, I am helping you fearlessly and unapologetically live your best, most authentic life. I am helping you break through your barriers and transcend any limitations you may have. If that sounds good to you, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. On December 26, 2023, we have a full moon in Cancer. Remember that new moons are about bringing in new energy, starting new cycles, and full moons are about closing the cycle, releasing energy. So, with this full moon being in Cancer, we know that Cancer is a water sign. Cancer is also a cardinal sign. So when we think of the Cancer sign is known to be more intuitive, moody, very sensitive, nurturing, caring. It often put other people's needs over their own, emotional, more energetic and creative, as many cardinal signs are. Sometimes they can be clingy and resentful on the shadow side, but from the Cancers that I know in my life, I think they're they're empaths, and they just feel a lot, and they're very intuitive, and they can pick up and feel the emotions of others like they're their own, right? But on the other hand, the Cancers that I've known, that I've been close friends with, they would do basically anything for you, and they're always there for you when you need them, even if they can be emotional at times. So this Cancer full moon is really closing out the end of the year. Emotions are often running high during full moons, right? Now we have this full moon in Cancer at the end of the year, right after the holidays. Can be overwhelming for some people. So my tips for the full moon, this full moon in Cancer, just really to focus on reflection, introspection, right? If you're finding a lot of emotions are coming to the surface now, which I'm sure for a lot of people they are, but what are these emotions trying to tell me? Journaling is good. We are in Mercury retrograde, so it might not be the best time to express emotions to people at this particular time, because during Mercury retrograde, we know that communication sometimes can come off wrong or be misinterpreted. So if you are going to communicate how you feel to somebody, which I'm not saying you should never communicate how you feel, just make sure you're coming from a more grounded place, that your emotions aren't overruling you. What I'm learning to do is, and what I think is also a good tip for this Cancer full moon, is to not let your emotions override your logic. When we find ourselves in a highly emotional state, sometimes we're reacting more, sometimes we're clouded, right? Because we're getting stuck in the emotion of it. And I'm not saying your emotions aren't valid. Of course, your emotions are valid. When we're driven only by emotions, we can feel imbalanced, right? We can maybe be perceiving something in a way that's not serving us when we get our emotions too attached to things, right? And I'm experiencing this as well. The holidays, you know, there's a lot that goes with the holidays, right? You've seen probably some other videos I've made about holidays and maybe why I struggle with holidays, different issues in my family, toxic patterns, right? Trying to create new patterns. So I even have found myself during these holidays as making decisions more from an emotional state. If you're making decisions straight from logic, right, it's maybe not as balanced. Like, emotions are needed. Emotions are telling you something, and emotions are often connected to your intuition as well, right? You're intuitively feeling something inside, but why are you feeling that way, right? So we have to take a step back, kind of ground ourselves, balance our logic and our emotions. Also, during this full moon in Cancer, we want to also release any kind of emotional dependency that we have on others. And it doesn't always have to be like you're in a codependent relationship with somebody. Emotional dependency can have different aspects, right? Or can have different looks. It could be relying on someone to make you happy, right? You're letting how that interaction goes with that person determine how your day is going to be, right? So that's one way to look at it. But also, it could be even a form of people-pleasing as well. Like, if that person you're in a relationship with, or friendship, or family member, especially with the holidays being here, right? You could be like, man, if I'm not pleasing them, making them happy, doing what they want me to do, right, then I'm not going to feel good. And I had an experience that was kind of like that myself, but I realized where it came from, right? And I'm just taking your power back, and this is where I go back into balancing your logic and your emotions. Not letting your emotions override everything and everything that you've learned and everything, all the healing that you've done. Sometimes during times of high emotions, we can let them like override our logic and override everything else. And that's fine. The biggest thing is with this is allowing yourself to feel how you need to feel. We want to have an emotional purge. Before we start off a new year, we're going to have a new moon in Capricorn coming up. The Capricorn's more focused, organized, goal-driven, right? We have to release some of this old emotional baggages from this previous year or from your life, whatever, you know, because holding on to these emotional attachments, not being able to forgive people or holding anger and whatever the negative emotional attachment is preventing us from moving forward, even to the new year. We don't want to carry that into the new year. Let's start new. You know, all the holidays, all that's over. A lot of people had a rough year. A lot of people had tragic events that happened. A lot of people have had a lot of changes, right? But just remember, if you're not changing, you're not evolving. And I'm going to make a video on this. I think this will be my next weekly intuitive message, actually, because it's going to be about how quickly you evolve. Often is dependent on how much you can let go of what doesn't serve you, like releasing unhealthy attachments, releasing those negative emotional attachments you have to people, releasing maybe anger or what someone did to you or didn't do, right? Being able to let go of that and just understanding that we're all at different levels of consciousness, we're all different levels, even spiritual evolution, right? A lot of people aren't as emotionally evolved either. Sometimes we expect people to care like we care or to act like we would act, but a lot of times they just aren't there. It doesn't mean you're better than anybody, just sometimes you've done more healing, you've done more work on yourself, more evolving, and it just some people just aren't there yet. That's important with this full moon in Cancer. You know, I'm not saying you should lower your standards by any means, but just to have more compassion for yourself and for others as well. And also setting those boundaries as needed. That also goes into the emotional dependency I'm talking about, releasing. Being able to set boundaries, even if you know that person might be negatively affected by the boundary you set, or is it going to be happy? It's like a people-pleasing thing, right? Maybe they aren't going to be happy with the boundary that you set, but you know that's something you had to do out of a place of love, and more of a love for yourself, and keeping a healthy relationship with someone else, right? And we know that Cancer is also very connected to the home, the family, and we talk about, obviously, emotions. So it's also keeping your relationships with people healthy. If you are constantly giving more than you're receiving from the relationships in your life, it's time to reevaluate and do what's best for you, setting boundaries. Maybe you have to love from a distance. You know, if your relationships or your friendships, family, whatever is not reciprocal, you know, taking your power back, keeping things more balanced. Even that means pulling your energy away. You can love people from a distance. I know a lot of Cancers that I know struggle with this, the loving people from a distance, like caring too much. And it's a beautiful thing that you care, but sometimes, or the people that we care so much about, we're doing so many things for, and like draining our energy, right, is not healthy for us. And like they want to do the same for us. Just they don't appreciate it, or, you know, we're finding we're being manipulated, or being used. In those situations, you know, we really need to use your intuition and take a step back. That's why I talk about being introspective and reflection more at this time. We just had the winter solstice, right? So people might be going into more of a state of hibernation. It's a good time to meditate, you know, get yourself back on track, do more self-care, do what you can to be more emotionally balanced and grounded. Even getting into nature can help. Just to get out of the emotional state. And even for empaths, and just in general, the Cancer sign is a water sign, right? So maybe taking a bath, cleansing your aura, things like that can really help. I take like Epsom salt baths, you know, bubble baths, right? I find that water is very, very healing for me. Working more with the element of water could be good at this time. And just resting more and doing more self-care. Those are my tips for this Cancer full moon. If you like this content, hit those like and subscribe buttons. I also have a Facebook group, an Instagram, and a TikTok. The links are in this video description and in my channel description. I also offer intuitive transformational coaching if you need help getting your life together. Going through spiritual awakening, dark night of the soul, struggling with your mental health issues, addiction issues, anything of that nature. Just want some intuitive guidance to help you transform your life. I've been through a lot of these experiences myself and learned to really become an alchemist. My contact information is in this video description as well. Have a good day. Namaste.